Welcome to the Daily for Tuesday, July 16th with Simon Board. I'm Jason Seguini. We're running down some of the top stories in soccer today. And we're going to start with the All-Star First 11 announced, Simon, the 2013 AT&T All-Star game at the end of the month. And now we know which players Peter Vermes is going to be using. We found out a bunch of Real Salt Lake players added to this roster.
Yeah, Kyle Beckerman, Tony Beltran, and Nick Raimondo part of this roster. The surprise for me is Landon Donovan. He's left off. This could be his last year in MLS. His contract's up in December. And since the All-Star game is a celebration, I thought maybe it would be a good thing for him to be part of this.
The commissioner's picks DeAndre Yedlin of the Seattle Sounders is really having a phenomenal season in his first year as a homegrown signing. And then also Tim Cahill of the New York Red Bulls. I think one of the players being argued about right now that didn't make it, Jack McInerney, remember he's on that Gold Cup roster now, and he's been surpassed in the Golden Boot race by Camilo lately.
He has. Camilo's the hotter player, and he's on the roster. But what's interesting, Jason, is Peter Vermes, the manager of this All-Star team, has said because of injuries and potential Gold Cup call-ups, Wando is on that Gold Cup team, we might see changes in the roster. And who knows, Jack McInerney, if the U.S. is bounced before the final of the Gold Cup, maybe he becomes available, fills in for someone.
Should be the first, I would think, added if somebody else was out, that's for sure. You can follow these stories and more. You can see the full roster on MLSsoccer.com. Well, we continue to keep a close eye on the Gold Cup. Of course, the United States in action tonight, but it was last night where we found out the potential opponents for the U.S. in the next round.
Jason, Group B wrapping up play yesterday, and because of the results, Honduras is top in Group B, which means they would face the second place team in Group C. So the U.S. needs to make sure they come up with at least a tie, not to finish second, because then a date with Honduras will be facing them in the quarterfinals. Way too early for that kind of matchup. But if they finish first, there are two opponents potentially waiting for them. One is Martinique, the other is El Salvador. I think the likelihood of the results will pit them against Martinique, which in the end will be the better quarterfinal opponent for them.
All right, our own Sam Yarrick and Andrew Wiebe are up at Rentschler Field in Connecticut, so you can see Gold Cup today from there later on. But Andrew filed this report last night after practice.
This is Andrew Wiebe for MLSsoccer.com here in Hartford, Connecticut at Rentschler Field, where the U.S. national team is training ahead of Tuesday night's Group C finale against Costa Rica. That match 8 p.m. on Fox Soccer Channel and Uni Mas. We heard from Jurgen Klinsmann and Chris Wondolowski today. Wondolowski, a presumed starter after scoring 5 goals over his first 2 matches here in the Gold Cup. He is now the all-time Gold Cup leader for the U.S. in a single tournament, and he spoke about how it was adapting to a new team, new players, new teammates, and having so much success.
Makes my job easy when you play with guys like Landon Donovan, Jose Torres, Kyle Beckerman, Joe Corona, because their soccer IQ is so high, and they understand the game. Their movement is unbelievable, and so I just try to read off them. I rely a lot on anticipation and trying to read the game as well, and so I think that we're able to kind of feed off of each other, and I rely a lot on that, and so it's been great to play with it, and it's pretty cool.
Of course, Chris Wondolowski and company won't have it easy against a Costa Rican side that has not allowed a goal since that 1-0 U.S. win in Denver in World Cup qualifying. The weather certainly seems to be better this time around. No snow to be seen, but still a difficult task for the U.S. Remember, you can catch that game 8 p.m. Eastern, Fox Soccer and Uni Mas. And make sure you tune into MLSsoccer.com for continued coverage through Gold Cup today.
Finally, of course, making a lot of headlines, David Beckham, a report that he is going to announce where he wants his MLS franchise later this year. Simon, a bit of a vague report, and it was in the Sun, so take it with a grain of salt.
But it was in the Sun, but every other wire outlet and wire service has picked up on it. It's everywhere. In this report, David Beckham says that in a few months he's going to make public his plans for his MLS franchise. You know, he has the option in his MLS contract to purchase an expansion team at a cut rate price. Look, the only news we've heard, and we've seen it, the photos and the video, is him in Miami. So unless something crazy comes up in the next couple months, I think the folks in Miami can start to get excited if we can believe this report.
I have a feeling there's going to be some people in Orlando who have something to say about that, Simon. We're going to move on from that story and take a look at this week's Castrol Index update, and it's led by the diminutive goalkeeper out in San Jose, John Bush, who had a huge game against the Seattle Sounders.
In second place, Jason, Michael Farfan. He had one of the best goals of the weekend, a difficult shot from inside the box to win it against Chivas. Then Tim Cahill, another goal, another header goal for Red Bulls. He's at 3. At number 4, Claudio Bieler wound up scoring that ticky-tack goal, up for goal of the week. And then lastly, Michael Spurning got hurt in this one against San Jose, played only 45 minutes, but still figured in at 5.
All right, plenty to see on the site today, including starting lineup. If you haven't got your fantasy team set, of course, there are midweek games. You're going to have to get prepared for that. And it's Tuesday, so power rankings are out. Check out MLSsoccer.com all day. Plenty of stories to watch, and we'll be back on the Daily tomorrow.